you, I'd like to introduce a representative of the government of Israel, a wonderful place and in a country very friendly, two very friendly countries, Ambassador Aharoni. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your introduction, if I may say, brilliant introduction. Welcome, Ambassador Aharoni. It's very simple. You did not mention my first name. By the way, my name Aharoni, I know rhymes with macaroni. It gives me a lot of grief in America. People pronounce it in a variety of ways. My first name, Ito, is not a Japanese name. It comes from the Bible. Ito was a seer. Not a prophet, a seer. It says in the Bible that Ito was a chozeh. And so I asked my dad, what's the difference between a prophet and a seer? His answer was, a seer is an unsuccessful prophet. So take everything I say today with a grain of salt. I will try to make a couple of predictions. But I really would like to begin by telling you why am I here? I'm here not only as the representative of the Israeli government, but as someone who's been working diligently for the last 12 years on trying to improve Israel's overall position. And you started with a very short introduction that focused on my name, Aharoni. Aharoni means in Hebrew belongs to the clan of Aaron. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my own personal story so that you understand why I'm here and why I'm so passionate about what I do for a living. My family settled in Jerusalem in 1870. They came from a place that is today Uzbekistan. In those days it was called Bukhara. It was a very prominent region in today's Uzbekistan with a very prominent Jewish community. The Jewish community of Bukhara were a community of merchants. 40 families left Bukhara in 1870 and settled in Jerusalem. They're still there. My family never left the region of Central Asia and the Middle East. My mother's family came from Yemen. They came in 1920 after the end of the First World War and settled in Tel Aviv. Both my parents were born in Israel. In my father's case, his great-grandparents were born in Israel. And both my families never left the region, went through tremendous hardships until independence, and even after independence. My father fought in the 1948 war, was injured twice, each time was sent back to the front lines. In 1948, Israel lost 6,000 soldiers, which was 10% of the total number of soldiers that we had in the newly established Israel Defense Force. It was 1% of the total population of the state of Israel at the time. Think about it. That's the price that my parents' generation paid for our independence. And when I'm thinking of my own story, and I'm thinking of the story of many of the people here, every family has an amazing story. People that survived the Holocaust and came to Israel to start new life, and build families, and build careers, and build factories, and build industries. And when I think about all those amazing stories, and I think about the findings of some of the studies that I'm going to show you in a few minutes, then I want to tell you this. If after all we've been through, the only thing you, the American people, will know about us is that we have a dispute with our neighbors, then my generation failed. This is why I'm here. I'm here because I think it's an existential need for the state of Israel to make sure that we are all part of a broader conversation about Israel. Not only a conversation that is limited to a discussion, a one-dimensional discussion about Israel's geopolitical circumstances that happen to be unhappy. The broader conversation is going to be beneficial to both Israel and the world's business community. You mentioned, Professor, the unique style of Israelis when they do business. I'd like to share a story with you that I've shared before, so those of you who heard it before, I apologize. 3 Israelis arrive at the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris. They are greeted by the officer at the border patrol, at the border crossing. He's asking them for their nationality. They say Israeli. He then turns to them and says, "What's your occupation?" They look at one another and they say, "No, thank you, we're here just for 3 days. We will not take over France this time. Maybe next time." Now, this is our image. Has been our image for many, many years. And we decided to change it. We decided to change this image. Microphone. And I know, the microphone is not, I don't control the microphone. I guess. Is that okay? It's working? Okay. So the first thing that we started to do is this. We went to, I better switch to this one. So we decided to do something that was never done before, believe it or not. In 2003 was the first time that the State of Israel decided to scientifically look at its own image and positioning, not only in the United States, all over the world. And if there's one thing I want you to remember from this presentation is the following story. A man walks down the street, runs into an old friend of his. He sees that the friend, much to his amazement, has a penguin watching behind him. He says to him, "Hey, have you noticed that there's a penguin behind you?" The friend says, "Of course, I know there's a penguin behind me. So what are you going to do about it?" "I suggest you take the penguin right away to the nearest zoo." The friend says, "It's a great idea." The next day, he sees the same friend with the same penguin behind him. He says to him, "Hey, didn't I tell you to take the penguin to the zoo?" He says, "Yes, yesterday we went to the zoo. Today we're going to the movies." What we took out of this story, and always remember the penguin, what we took out of this story as a government is that it's not only about what you want to say, it is also about what they want to hear. And in today's age of Facebook and social media, it becomes even more important to listen to what they want to hear, to analyze and segment the market. And as a result, we shifted our entire communications apparatus to what we call today micro-marketing. The ability to communicate directly with relevant niche audiences that talk to you about what they want, what they're interested in, and the State of Israel has something that is relevant for them in almost all areas of life, and I will show you exactly how we did it. So very, very quickly, we decided to go back to basics. First is to understand what is Israel's relative advantage, and secondly, as I mentioned, through micro-marketing, the ability to communicate that relative advantage to relevant audiences. One of the first things that we did, we subscribed to this amazing research tool called the BAV, stands for the Brand Asset Valuator. It's the first time that we looked at Israel the same way you look at any other brand name. Israel is a very powerful brand. The BAV, maintained by Young and Rubicam out of New York, by Weinar out of New York, has several things that they provide their customers with. The first thing is to look at your brand the same way you would look at any other human being. These are the persona dimensions of every brand. What you see under each category is just a sample of associations that are tested in their research mechanism. The second thing that we did, we looked at the 4 pillars of brand energy, brand strength, and brand stature, trying to assess Israel's brand strength here in the United States. What you see here in this slide on the upper right-hand side of the chart are the associations that 13,000 Americans associate Israel with. On the first association, the one thing that really defines who we are in the eyes of Americans, daring, independent, straightforward, original, rugged, arrogant, leader, traditional, intelligent, unique, unapproachable. All the things that define who we are right up here. The person who did the study, the researcher said, you know what, that's not a very bad place to be. Americans think of you as a leader that has smarts. You're a smart leader with some leadership qualities. If I were you, I will not be concerned with this, he said, but rather with what you're not. And look at what the Americans don't think we are. They don't think we're fun. They don't think we're stylish. They don't think we are worth more, and they don't think we are charming. This is what our research showed us. Now, those of you who've been to Israel know that Israel can be very, very fun. So as a result of what we did, what I'd like you to see here is what happened 5 years after we went into this process. These are the associations that defined us in 2008. This is today. And you can see how trustworthy and reliable became part of the conversation, distinctive, visionary, and socially responsible are new additions. There is a reason why all those things happen, and I will show you that reason in a second. Another thing that our research currently shows is that at least in 3 categories, there's been a significant improvement in the perception of Israel as a cutting-edge society, almost 20% improvement in 3 years. In the department that looks at Israel's performance ability as superior, 16% improvement and 13.5% improvement in customer care or customer-centric, as we say. Same thing goes for relevance. You can see in the eyes of those 13,000 Americans tested here in the United States, Israel is actually ranked number 9 when it comes to relevance. Talking about Israel's number 1 competitive edge, number 1 strategic asset is the unbelievable degree of creativity. And one of the things that I'd like to share with you is that it's a big mistake to look at Israel's creativity and innovative spirit only in the context of high tech. Israel's creativity exists in all areas of life. Israel is a world leader in the environment. Israel is a world leader specifically in desert agriculture, water technologies, water desalination. Israel is a pioneer in the field of renewable energy. Israel is a powerhouse in the field of lifestyle and leisure. Israel is a powerhouse in the area of culture and the arts. I just read a piece in the press about 2 new Israeli TV shows that were sold to the American market. And we have a lot to offer in the field of international aid, homeland security, and of course, the story of our human diversity. If Israel was a human being, this is what our research shows. If Israel was a human being, with a person that had those personality features. And again, you can look at it, informal, spontaneous, energetic, outgoing, straight talking, warm, fun, argumentative, and analytical. Let me say something about it, a little, again, on a personal note. We're in the month of Adar, where it's incumbent upon us as Jews to increase joy. It's a festival of joy. Adar, then you have Passover, which is the festival of freedom. So this is a very significant time in the Jewish calendar. And each and every one of us is asking himself or herself, what are the things that really give me joy, bring me joy in my life? And I have to tell you, in addition to my family and all the obvious things, there was something here in New York a few weeks ago that really gave me a lot of joy. And I'd like to share it with you because it ties into this persona. I had the pleasure and the privilege of hosting here in New York the world's most unique theater group in the whole world. It's called Nalagat. What makes this theater group so unique is the fact that its entire cast, people that are deaf and blind. Now, I want you to think about it. You're deaf and you're blind and you're standing on stage and you have to perform for an hour and a half. You have no idea, you can't see a thing, you can't hear a thing. When is your cue? And who's cueing you? Well, it turns out that they cue one another by simply touching. That's their language. That's why the name of the group is Nalagad. In English, please touch. Now, the story of Nalagad is the story of the state of Israel. And I will conclude with that. Nalagad is about the refusal to accept limitations. Nalagad is about the permission to ask questions and challenge authority and test the boundaries. The cast of Nalagad could have been miserably depressed, complaining about the hardships of their lives, being deaf and blind, but rather than that, they decided to celebrate what they have rather than complain about what they don't have. And if you may, the story of Nalagad is a microcosmos. It really encapsulates everything that is good and sometimes difficult about us, the Israelis. So in conclusion, because I have to finish right now, that's what the powers tell me, I wanted to congratulate each and every one of you for being here. Our job as the Consul General of Israel here in New York is to make life easier for you in the process of doing business with Israel, in interacting with Israelis. So we're here to serve you. Do not hesitate to call us and ask questions, and I will stay here for later if you have any questions. Thank you so much and have a great day.